From ABC News, this is World News Tonight, Sunday. Now from our Washington headquarters, here's Sam Donaldson.
Good evening. The end came today for the U.S. peacekeeping force in Beirut. The last of the combat Marines withdrew from their airport compound to ships offshore after 17 months and 265 American lives had gone by. And a few minutes later, U.S. Navy guns opened up in another barrage that seemed to underscore the end of a presence and the end of a policy. Details from Betsy Aaron in Beirut.
The leaving had been a long one, but finally it was the last day. It began early as the men of Echo and Fox companies helicoptered out to the ships at first light. Marines on board able to get a good look at Beirut, the city they were never able to visit. With the sun up, the last of the heavy equipment was loaded as the men who were left waited to go.
Glad me and all my buddies in the platoon are making it out of here in one piece.
Glad to get off the beach. Glad to get the troops off the beach. No more wounded, no more killed. Go home.
And a little after noon, they left. The last of the American troops in the multinational force, the men in Gulf Company, the armored personnel carriers, the Amtraks, all of it, headed out to sea. There were no celebrations. There was no big crowd, just an orderly procession. And a final assessment of the situation from the man in charge, General James Joy.
I've said all along that I don't think the solution to the Lebanese problem is a military solution. It's going to be a political solution, and hopefully sometime the people will say enough's enough.
But it sounded as if politics would have to wait a while. With the Marines all on ships, the 16-inch guns of the New Jersey and the 5-inch guns of the USS Karen fired into the mountains above the abandoned Marine base. Because, according to the military, American reconnaissance planes were shot at over those mountains this morning. On the ground, the bunkers and the sandbags and the underground tunnels which kept the Americans alive were empty, but not for long. The base is now the property of the Lebanese army, the new Muslim and Druze army, not the army of the American-supported President Amin Jamal. In a place where militias can claim more victories than the military, the Shiite militia Amal raised its flag above the Marine Sentry Tower on Green Beach. For the Marines, for America. It wasn't supposed to work out this way. Betsy Aaron, ABC News, Beirut.
While the Marines are withdrawing to ships, another element of the multinational force is withdrawing back to its home country. The Italians returned to Leghorn, Italy, to be met by the country's defense minister, who said the withdrawal doesn't mean Italy has turned its back on Lebanon. 1,100 Italians who returned home today will be redeployed to various units around the country. And in New York, a memorial service was held aboard the aircraft carrier Intrepid, now a museum anchored in the East River, for New York area servicemen killed in Lebanon and Grenada. 11 men whose relatives heard officials express sympathy for their loss. Men who the relatives were told had not died in vain. In Amman, Jordan, King Hussein and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat conferred on coordinating their approach to achieving a wider Middle East peace settlement. Last year, the two came close to agreeing on a common approach, but Arafat backed out after he couldn't win the backing of his own lieutenants in Syria. This time, there's hope that the weakening in the Palestinian position can actually help bring about an agreement between the two, which might make it possible for Hussein to enter peace talks with Israel.
World News Tonight, Sunday. Brought to you by the twin-action Norelco Rotatract Razor.
Here comes the most advanced piece of machinery in shaving history. The new Norelco Rotatract, the razor that challenges the world. Every blade, every electric, every shaving instrument ever made. In closeness, comfort, speed, and quality. It's the shaving machine you've been waiting for, or your money back. Advanced technology Rotatract razors. The first to challenge the world. New from Norelco.
What? When you play telephone, if you can't hear everything, that's part of the game. But when you pay for calls, it's no fun. AT&T thinks that every long-distance call should sound as close as next door, and isn't that why you call?
Want to try it too?
Calling anywhere, anytime, long-distance operators over a century of commitment. That's AT&T. The more you hear, the better we sound.
Reach out and touch someone.
The Democratic presidential contenders stumped hard today in New Hampshire, hoping to improve their positions enough so that the first primary next Tuesday won't be their last. And a new ABC News Washington Post poll shows that there may have been some major reshuffling in the candidates' prospects since last Monday's Iowa caucuses. More on that from senior political correspondent Sander Van Oker.
The new poll shows that Walter Mondale is maintaining a solid lead in New Hampshire. Before the Iowa caucuses last week, the poll showed Mondale with 37%. After his victory there, his standing is virtually the same, 38%. Gary Hart continues his impressive rise in the polls after his distant second-place victory in Iowa last week. At the same time, John Glenn has dropped to third place in the new poll. Before Iowa, Hart had 13%. Now he's at 24%. Glenn, however, was at 20% before Iowa. Now he's at 14%. Jesse Jackson, who showed promise in this state, but who spent the last week fending off questions about alleged anti-Semitism, has also dropped in the poll from 11% before Iowa to 7% this week. George McGovern, who surprised everyone in Iowa with his third-place finish, has remained unchanged in the new poll, 6% before Iowa, 6% after. And bad news for Hollings, Cranston, and Askew, whose numbers raise the question of how long they can stay in the race after New Hampshire. It's a very small payoff for Reuben Askew, who spent more days here than any other candidate. Hollings was second in that category, and Cranston was fourth. For Askew, Hollings, and Cranston, New Hampshire could be the end of the road. The decision whether to stay in or get out may also be faced by John Glenn, depending on how he does Tuesday night. Gary Hart always wanted a two-man race with Walter Mondale. He may get one, but he will be forced to match Mondale in money and organization in the weeks ahead. It will not be easy. Sander Van Oker, ABC News, Manchester.
For the record, neither Askew nor Cranston has said flatly how long he will continue after New Hampshire. I'm taking it 1 week at a time, Cranston said today. But both McGovern and Hollings suggested very strongly today they will stay in, at least through the cluster of primaries on March 13th, Super Tuesday. The future, of course, depends very much on the voters in New Hampshire. And today they were being wooed furiously. We have 3 reports, beginning with the Glenn campaign and Lynn Scher.
John Glenn is certainly more at home here in New Hampshire, far more comfortable with the conservative Yankee voters than with the Iowans who did him in. And as he is relaxed, his campaign is perked up. Gone are the awkward stops in the bleak plains where the reception was almost as icy as the weather. Here, the crowds have been large and friendly. Here, John Glenn has stopped trying to hide his history as a space hero.
And when anybody ridicules that, they get to me, I'll tell you. And if they want to fuss over that one, I'll be glad to fuss any day.
Glenn's message hasn't changed, only its urgency, coupled with remarkable optimism in the face of poor ratings in the polls.
Oh, polls, schmoles. You know, I wish you guys... You know, everything is polls this, polls that. Who's talking about the issues?
Although an underdog, Glenn seems for the first time in this race to be enjoying himself. Listen to him at a rally for campaign workers, including some 500 Buckeye Brigadiers bussed in from Ohio.
Stick with us through Tuesday. We can use this as a kickoff to go all the way. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Glenn has tried to energize his campaign before, claiming the race was just beginning at least 2 previous times. Now he is running out of starting gates. Lynn Scher, ABC News, with the Glenn campaign in Manchester, New Hampshire.
This is Bettina Gregory with the Hart campaign, a campaign in which the candidate is now working crowds that are really crowds and rallying workers who are really enthusiastic.
Who's going to win the Democratic nomination?
With the polls showing Hart second place in New Hampshire, his confidence is growing. He can do well enough here to prevent Mondale from clinching the nomination.
I don't have to win this primary.
Is it possible you could win it?
I believe in political miracles.
Evidently, earlier today, Hart predicted he'll beat Mondale in New York's primary in April.
I will qualify for all the delegates in New York, and I will win that primary.
But first things first, the picturesque towns of New Hampshire are being blanketed by 400 or so young volunteers like these two from Washington, D.C., passing out literature. And while Hart's phone banks aren't as big or elaborate as Mondale's, they're still trying to churn out support. And celebrities like author Stephen King are appearing with Hart. But most important of all, the Hart campaign has plowed a lot of its resources into a massive TV ad campaign. costing $130,000 for the last 10 days. This weekend, Hart's managers are playing a game of beat the clock. They seem confident Hart is already in second place, but they're working furiously to boost that into an impressive second place finish by Tuesday. Bettina Gregory, ABC News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
This is Britt Hume with the Mondale campaign. The candidate flew east today to Maine, where 27 convention delegates, 5 more than New Hampshire has, will be chosen in caucuses next Sunday. At a rally in Portland, surrounded by a platoon of prominent Maine Democrats, Mondale sounded his familiar battle cry of fairness in a mocking attack on President Reagan.
And if you're old, you're on your own. If you're sick, pay your own bills. If you don't have an education, too bad. If you're of average income, you pay the bills. If your utility rates go up and you can't afford it, move out. It's time we had a president who stood up for the people of this country.
Meanwhile, his New Hampshire headquarters was busy trying to make sure that Democrats who back Mondale vote on Tuesday. But the telephone canvassing that has been such a staple of get-out-the-vote efforts in the past has proved disappointing this year. New Hampshireites are tired of it, and some just hang up.
Now, these are people that have been contacted before, so, you know, they might be a little nasty or they might be very kind. It all really depends.
So the Mondale campaign is trying something old, handwritten letters. Some 60,000 of them have been sent by volunteers to New Hampshire Democrats, and many thousand more voters are being reached in person on foot. Mondale and his team are confident of victory in New Hampshire and not at all displeased that Gary Hart is likely to be second. They think Hart simply lacks the organization to compete seriously in the dense cluster of caucuses and primaries that lies just ahead. Britt Hume, ABC News, with the Mondale campaign in Portland, Maine.
Newsweek magazine reports today that the Reverend Jesse Jackson, in his letter requesting Secret Service protection, expressed fear that the Jewish Defense League might make an attempt on his life. Jackson's letter was written last year, well before the report last week that Jackson had referred the Jews in private conversation with reporters as Jaime. Tonight, Jackson is making another effort to end the furor over that remark. He's canceled his schedule in order to talk about it to the congregation of a Jewish synagogue in Manchester.
Now through March 17th, it's a super success celebration at your AMC Jeep Renault dealer. On Renault Alliance, best-selling American car line launched in 1983, with dealer incentives on Alliance and all-new Encore, incentives of up to $1,000 on Fuego Turbo, and we're celebrating 4x4 of the Year Jeep Cherokee. Save on special editions, too. See your local AMC Jeep Renault dealer. Hurry! Celebration ends March 17th.
In the West, where Levi Strauss & Company began, how clothes feel has always been just as important as how they look. That's why Levi's Action jeans have both an easy care fabric that gives and a fit that offers a skosh more room. It's a level of comfort that's attracting more men every day. Levi's Action jeans, a real comfort from Levi's menswear.
It's the one that took the stick out of gum and puts the fresh in your breath. Yeah, Freedom's the one that took the stick out of gum and puts the fresh in your breath. Yeah, Freedom's the one.
Freedent gum not only won't stick to your dental work, it helps clean in between to freshen your breath while you chew.
Freedom's the one that took the stick out of gum and puts the fresh in your breath. Freedom's the one.
Freshen your breath with non-stick Freedent. For efficient home heating, you can't beat natural gas. And now you can make gas work even harder for you. Just call 800-322-1616 for a free computerized home heating audit from your Trane dealer. Within minutes, you'll see what it could cost to heat your home with a new Trane gas furnace compared to what you're spending now.
Look how fast it can pay for itself.
See what you can save. Call for your free home heating audit now. Today and tomorrow, gas gives you more for your money.
The Executive Committee of the National Governors Association today endorsed the President's call for a 3-year, $100 billion down payment on reducing the federal deficit, without specifying how it should be done. This after all the governors meeting here in Washington put Defense Secretary Weinberger on the hot seat to defend the administration's latest spending request for the military. More on that from Dennis Trout.
A group of the nation's governors told Defense Secretary Weinberger they're worried that big deficits will scuttle the country's economy.
We start with the budget and we end with the budget, and most of the things that we're concerned about this session, frankly, are going to revolve around the federal budget and the impact ultimately it's going to have upon our individual states.
Weinberger argued that defense needs are critical, that $305 billion, nearly a third of next year's federal budget, is not too high a price to pay for the country's security. In fact, he maintains that the military budget is minimal.
We defend the United States best in forward defensive positions, and that's cost money, and it's expensive, and I know better than anybody in this room that it's unpopular, but it is essential that it be done.
Some of the governors insist that the military could tighten its belt much further and free funds for necessary social spending.
And wouldn't we be stronger in this country if we started scaling down the arms race and started concentrating more resources on the human race?
At a time when even staunch Republicans are saying that a 13% increase in military spending is too much, Weinberger says the investment in defense must be made either now or later, and that stretching out weapons purchases over more years does not really save money, since inflation will eat up in later years whatever is saved in the early ones. Dennis Trout, ABC News, Washington.
President and Mrs. Reagan are hosting a black-tie dinner for the governors at the White House tonight. Tomorrow, the governors will hear Budget Director David Stockman defend the administration's fiscal policies. The administration is also having to defend its civil rights policies again, this time from the American Civil Liberties Union charges. In a report released today titled "In Contempt of Congress and the Courts," the ACLU accuses the Reagan administration of a shameful and radical assault on civil rights enforcement that could mean the return of race and sex discrimination in this country. The Justice Department response: either the report is politically motivated or the people who wrote it don't know what they're talking about. Coming up next, Dick Schaap with today's sports news. Welcome back from Sarajevo, Dick.
Thank you, Sam. We'll take a look at the opening games of the USFL's second season and at the most glamorous of golfers after this.
There's a power tool made by Black & Decker only professionals even know about. A tough, durable tool that represents some of the finest engineering in the industry. It's called the Professional Cut Saw. The lightest saw ever built with both orbital and reciprocal cutting actions. A brilliantly designed, impeccably manufactured piece of industrial equipment built for the pro. In other words, built like a Black & Decker.
It's a tough job making a decision. You need all the facts.
They cut their fare. We need numbers.
AT&T Information Systems can help with the complete range of products.
We can match them. No good.
To get you the right information at the right time.
Thanks. We're in good shape.
So you can do the tough part and do it right.
Bill, I've got a better plan.
AT&T Information Systems. When you've got to be right.
Over 1 million years ago, a single spark changed the world. There was fire, and the art of cooking was created. As that spark changed the past, Whirlpool ranges and microwave ovens can change your future. Each one has been specially designed to give you the two things you look for most in a new range or microwave oven: better meals, easy cleanups. And each range is backed by the same promise as our washers and refrigerators. The Whirlpool promise of good, honest quality that can make your world a little easier.
Till now, the only way to get really fresh-tasting spaghetti sauce was to grow your own vegetables. Introducing Ragu Chunky Garden-Style Spaghetti Sauces, the chunkiest, freshest-tasting sauces we ever put in a jar. Bursting with the garden-fresh taste of chunky tomatoes, tender mushrooms, crunchy green peppers, sweet onions. Good sauce. New Ragu Chunky Garden-Style in 3 garden-fresh varieties. That's Italian.
More than 60,000 fans, a league record, turned out to see Joe Cribbs and the Birmingham Stallions open the second season of the U.S. Football League against Herschel Walker and the New Jersey Generals. The running star of the game, however, was neither Cribbs nor Walker, but little-known Maurice Carthen from Arkansas State, whose 2 touchdowns led New Jersey to a victory that disappointed the huge Alabama crowd. The team with the best record in the USFL last season, Philadelphia, came from behind in the final quarter to beat Memphis. George Allen, who has lost only 1 opening game in his career, won his 13th opener today. Greg Landry teaming up with Lenny Willis on this 72-yard pass play and a decisive victory for the team Allen transplanted from Chicago. Heisman Trophy winner Mike Rozier did just about nothing on a wet field. His teammates didn't do much either, and Pittsburgh lost to Oklahoma. Gary Anderson led Tampa Bay to its victory. San Antonio, an expansion team, came surprisingly close to New Orleans, and Jacksonville, also an expansion team, had a surprisingly easy time with Washington. The college basketball season's winding down, and 2 of the top 5 teams face strong opponents this afternoon. Both survived, Houston by 3 points over Arkansas, DePaul by 10 over Louisville. Ever since Nancy Lopez decided to put love and marriage and a second marriage ahead of her golf game, women's golf has been looking for an exciting star. There is an obvious candidate for the position.
When I take off, I just push these all away. Just go on up and off.
Jan Stevenson is in command now. She pilots her own small jet, a Cessna Citation. She zooms through the sky at 400 miles an hour, smoothly, easily, comfortably. Jan Stevenson is up in the air, but her golf game and her private life no longer are. Finally, she has them under control, too. Jan Stevenson is a 32-year-old Australian who may not be the greatest athlete in the world and may not be the most beautiful, but no one else in sports has done such a profitable job of blending a good game and good looks to produce a winner on the golf course and off. On the golf course, Stevenson last year won the United States Open, her 3rd major championship in 3 years, and $250,000 in prize money. She was 4th on the money list in official earnings and perhaps 1st in unofficial. Off the course, beyond a festival of endorsements and exhibitions, Jan Stevenson celebrated herself in provocative posters and calendars that made fans out of men who did not know a 5-iron from a 4 caddy. Suddenly, they found golf a very stimulating game. But Stevenson's most remarkable feat was not converting men into fans. That was easy. But converting her rivals into, not quite friends, but at least supporters. For years, her sister pros had resented her because her income was far greater than her game.
It was almost like I didn't deserve it before, and I was making more than them just by the way I looked. But now I've overcome that because I am truly competing.
Anti-Stevenson sentiment peaked a few years ago when Jane Blaylock, a veteran pro, took a look at a fashion layout Jan did for the official LPGA magazine and labeled it quasi-pornographic.
It hurt me a lot because I thought Janie was a friend of mine, and she didn't even tell me she was going to do it, and when it came out I was really upset. And then later I felt like I probably should send her a case of champagne because it really did set my career off. There's no doubt about it.
Before the pose that piqued Blaylock, Stevenson had never won a major title, had never finished among the top 10 money winners. Since then, thanks largely to hard work, she has become a super player. And thanks partly to Blaylock, she has also become a superstar. The road from her native Sydney to superstardom has not always been smooth for the 5'4", 115-pound blonde. A couple of years ago, her personal life got so confused, you couldn't tell who her husband was without a scorecard.
My golf has always been such a priority that I have never really given my personal life the attention it should have.
Now Jan is married to Eddie Vossler, the son of a golf pro, and while he manages her business interests, she concentrates on hitting the golf ball. Hitting it so well, her sister pros no longer resent her success. In fact, they appreciate the crowds she draws and the marketing techniques she has pioneered. The golf world has grown accustomed to her charms, and so has the rest of the world, to the point where Playboy's original offer of $10,000 to reveal all of Jan's charms is now up to $50,000.
And I told them there is not enough money for me to do that, because I wouldn't want to do anything that my parents would be ashamed of me.
Jan Stevenson's career is clearly soaring, and if she can win the Dinah Shore Invitational this spring, she will become the first woman to win all 4 of the major professional titles. Now that's beautiful. Lee Trevino calendars will probably be available soon.
When the burning, itching, and soreness of hemorrhoids flare up, Tux medicated pads give you soothing, cooling relief on contact.
Creams and ointments work hard, but if you also use Tux, you'll get even more relief. Of proctologists surveyed, 95% often add Tux to treatment programs they recommend.
When your hemorrhoids flare up, fight fire with Tux. Tux, for more relief than creams or ointments alone.
This is Mr. Goodrich, and did you know there are ways you can tell if your GM car's shock absorbers are okay? For one, check your tires. If they show unusual wear, like cupping at one spot, it can mean worn shocks. Make your car hard to handle. So see Mr. Goodrich. I have the right equipment, training, and genuine GM Blue Line replacement shocks available. They have a lifetime limited warranty.
It's another of Mr. Goodrich's good ways.
To keep that great GM feeling with genuine GM parts.
It can be the beginning of a great beginning.
Nobody lately has become president without first winning the New Hampshire primary.
Jennings and Brinkley, Monday on ABC's World News Tonight. Big game. Lions, tigers, buffalo, a spectacle a lot of people would like to see if it could be done safely. Well, in Rio Vista, California, it can be done, with perhaps only little danger. And as Judd Rose reports, that danger comes not from the big game.
It's Friday, lunchtime, and as usual, they're lined up at Foster's Bar in Rio Vista. It's the kind of place where, after a couple of cool ones, you feel like something's watching you.
You're always looking and thinking something's staring at you, and they really are, you know. And you'd hate to have that many come at you at one time.
Knock back a couple more and, well, you may not see pink elephants, but
I'm awed. I'm overwhelmed.
It is overwhelming, to say the least. At Foster's, the walls are home to hundreds of big game animals. Stuffed and mounted, this inert zoo is the world's largest collection of its kind. Foster's Museum boasts a rare white rhino and a virtually extinct duckbill platypus. There's a huge hippo, a giant giraffe, a big bison, and a dik-dik, the world's smallest deer. Everywhere you look, there are lions and tigers and bears. Oh my.
Something that's been the center of Rio Vista since I can ever remember.
This animal house is the legacy of Bill Foster, the long-dead local legend who loved his hunting.
He was strictly a hunter. I mean, a head hunter.
Indeed, old pal Buck McKiernan says big game was something of an obsession with Bill Foster.
And that's what it was all his life, to get ahead.
For 53 years, Foster's Bar has been this town's only tourist attraction.
Look at that, a hippopotamus.
The place is even host to school field trips.
I think they're scary. I think they're terrific. There's so many. I think they're real. I'm gonna come back.
Well, he'd better come back soon. The menagerie is for sale. A taxidermist estimates it may be worth $3 million. But a lot of the folks here will tell you, you take the heads from Foster's, you take the heart from Rio Vista. A letter recently in the local paper said it would be like taking the Vatican out of Rome.
I'd hate to see it. I'd hate to see it go.
I can't be held responsible for the town. They can't do it justice.
Still, owner Martin Machado hopes that whoever does buy his menagerie will keep it nearby. But that's not likely, so at Foster's, they're toasting the past, trying to keep their heads, while all about them have lost theirs. Judd Rose, ABC News, Rio Vista, California.
That's our report for tonight. Tom Jarrell will have more news later on the Weekend Report. I'm Sam Donald. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
From Washington, this has been World News Tonight, Sunday. A presentation of ABC News.
20 years in a world without comfort,
Run!
without hope, without love, without shame,
Everybody on the bed.
without a mother.
Who is she? Where can I find her?
Lace. Don't let the name fool you. Tonight at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
Nissan trucks are. Can this $59.99 Nissan haul 1,400 pounds?
Yep.
In a double wall steel bed?
Yep.
With the most powerful standard engine in its class?
Yep.
Anyone else give you all this for a sticker price of $59.99?
Nope.
Only Nissan. Now get low 8.8 annual percentage rate financing on any new Nissan truck. Only for a limited time at your Datsun dealer.
Coming up on the next News 7 at 5:30.
Democrats go to the polls this week in New Hampshire to vote for their nominee for president. Hundreds of reporters will cover the primary. I'm Renee Poussin. The television coverage of the Iowa voting drew howls of protest from politicians after two networks projected the winner before the caucuses convened. We'll take a look at television and the candidates squaring off on the road to the White House.
News 7 at 5:30, Monday on Washington's Channel 7. And Margaret's new challenge, Monday at 7:30.